We spend our lives trying to avoid crisis, clinging to comfort, mistaking stability for selfhood. But the truth is far more raw. The real you, the part of you that's authentic, unshakable and alive, isn't formed when life is easy. It's revealed when life breaks you open. Crisis strips away the masks you wear to survive. It dissolves the roles, expectations and illusions that kept you small. In the face of chaos, you no longer have the luxury of pretending. You're forced to confront the parts of yourself you've ignored, the truths you've silenced, the strength you didn't know you had. Crisis is not a punishment, it's an initiation, a sacred threshold between who you were and who you're meant to become. Comfort may keep you safe, but it can also keep you asleep. Crisis wakes you up, and in that raw awakening, the real you begins to emerge. When life is moving smoothly, it's easy to build an identity based on performance, approval, or survival. We craft an image of ourselves to fit in, to be accepted, to avoid rejection. This false self often looks confident on the outside but is secretly held together by fear, fear of not being enough, fear of losing control, fear of being exposed. Crisis comes like a storm that tears through that carefully constructed persona. Whether it's the loss of a relationship, a career collapse, a health scare or an emotional breakdown, something powerful happens, the mask cracks. The illusion that we are who we pretend to be can no longer survive under the weight of real suffering. Crisis pulls us inward, stripping away the roles we've been playing. The outer identity collapses, and we are left with something much more raw, something real. This is where the opportunity begins. In the rubble of what we thought we were, something deeper stirs. When your false self breaks apart, it can feel terrifying, like losing everything. But in truth, you're only losing what was never truly you. The ego may interpret this loss as failure or destruction, but the psyche understands it as revelation. You begin to see the parts of yourself that had been buried under performance and perfectionism. You see your insecurity, your wounds, your suppressed dreams, your untapped potential, and in that moment of breakdown, you have a chance to connect with who you actually are. The false self is rigid because it's built on fear. It clings to certainty, it avoids risk, it seeks approval, but your true self is flexible, creative, and rooted in authenticity. Crisis breaks down rigidity. It creates a gap between the way things were and the way things could be. That gap is where transformation happens. You no longer have to maintain the exhausting illusion. You're free to rebuild on the foundation of truth, not fear. You're free to stop pretending and start becoming. And yet many people miss this opportunity. Instead of letting the false self die, they desperately try to patch it back together. They rush into distractions, deny their pain, numb out, or fake resilience. But healing doesn't happen in denial. It happens in surrender. Only by allowing the false self to fall can you make room for what's real. Crisis humbles you. It silences the ego's voice long enough for the deeper voice to emerge, the voice of your soul, your essence, the part of you that knows who you really are. In this way, crisis becomes a kind of sacred fire. It burns away illusion, not to destroy you, but to purify you, and it's not a one-time event. Throughout life we face many cycles of unraveling and rebuilding. Each time a new layer of the false self is peeled away, and a deeper truth is revealed. This is the alchemy of inner growth. You are not ruined by crisis, you are revealed by it. So if you find yourself in a moment of personal collapse, don't rush to escape it. Sit with the ashes of your former self, grieve the illusions you outgrew, and listen. There is a deeper intelligence at work, one that is calling you home, not to the person you were told to be, but to the person you were born to become. The false self was never strong enough to carry your soul's truth. Now that it's shattered, you finally have a chance to rise, not with a mask, but with your real face turned toward the light. Pain forces you to confront what you've been avoiding. Pain is the ultimate truth teller. It doesn't lie, flatter, or sugarcoat. It arrives uninvited, cuts through all your distractions, and shines a merciless light on the things you've spent years trying to suppress. Most people live their lives in avoidance, avoiding discomfort, hard truths, childhood wounds, broken dreams, or unresolved guilt. We keep ourselves busy, numb, or distracted because we're afraid of what might surface if we stop and listen. But pain doesn't care about your defenses. It finds a way to break through, and when it does, it forces you to confront the very things you've spent your life running from. Avoidance builds a prison inside the mind. Every time you push something down, an emotion, a memory, a part of yourself, it doesn't disappear, it festers, it waits, and the longer it waits, the more distorted and powerful it becomes. You can distract yourself for a while, but the energy of what's unprocessed will always demand release. Pain is how the psyche finally gets your attention. It's how the unconscious says, "You're not okay, something needs to be seen," and the more you ignore it, the louder it becomes, first as a whisper, then a wait, and finally a scream. The confrontation pain demands is rarely surface level. It doesn't just ask you to change a habit or fix a behavior. It wants you to go deeper into the root of your patterns, the emotional injuries you normalized, the lies you told yourself just to survive. Pain confronts you with the gap between who you are and who you're pretending to be. It shows you the masks you've worn to hide your vulnerability. It holds up a mirror and says, "This is what you've buried. This is what's been waiting, and no matter how much you want to look away, you can't, because once pain opens that door, you can't unknow what you've seen. This confrontation is uncomfortable, even terrifying. It might mean facing the fact that you've betrayed your own values to be accepted, or that you've abandoned parts of yourself to meet other people's expectations. It might reveal the way trauma shaped your personality, or how fear has quietly been steering your life. But this confrontation is necessary, because only what is faced can be transformed. What you refuse to look at controls you from the shadows. What you finally turn toward can begin to heal. Pain doesn't show up to punish you. It shows up to awaken you. It's a call to come back to yourself, to stop running, to start feeling, to dig into the soil of your inner life and uncover what's been buried. And while that process can be messy and raw, it's also sacred, because in that confrontation, something remarkable begins to happen. You begin to reclaim your power. You realize that pain isn't just suffering, it's information, it's guidance. It's the body and soul working together to show you what's real and what needs attention. The parts of you that you've been avoiding are often the very parts that hold your strength. The grief you've never processed holds the key to your compassion. The anger you've suppressed carries your sense of justice. The fear you avoid contains your longing to grow. Pain brings you face to face with these energies so they can be integrated, not as enemies but as parts of your story that want to be seen and understood. True transformation doesn't happen through avoidance, it happens through courageous confrontation. And while that path is not easy, it is honest, it is healing, it is the only way to live a life that is actually yours. So if you're in pain right now, ask yourself, what have I been avoiding? What truth is trying to surface? What part of me is ready to be reclaimed? When you let pain guide you rather than destroy you, it becomes a fierce but faithful ally in your journey toward wholeness. Struggle activates dormant strength. Struggle is not a punishment, it's a catalyst. When life puts pressure on you, when everything feels like it's falling apart, and when you're pushed beyond what you think you can bear, something deep within you begins to stir. A strength that has always lived inside you but one you've never needed to fully access before, starts to wake up. It doesn't come from your surface personality, it comes from a much deeper place, something raw, ancient and incredibly alive. This strength doesn't wear a mask, and it doesn't care about how you appear to others. It's the force that comes online when your back is against the wall, when you're broken open, and when surviving is no longer enough. You need to evolve. The truth is, comfort numbs potential. When things are easy, there's no urgency to grow, no need to question your patterns, no motivation to reach deeper. You can stay asleep in your routines, locked in your identity, and safe in your limitations. But when life shakes you, when the struggle comes, you're forced to dig, you're forced to confront what you're made of. And it's in that moment of pressure that dormant strength begins to surface. It may start as a flicker, a subtle defiance, a whisper that says, "I'm not done yet." But if you keep going, that flicker becomes fire. This inner strength isn't loud or performative. It often shows up quietly, in the choices you make when no one's watching, in the way you keep moving forward even when everything hurts, in how you choose to feel your emotions instead of numb them, in how you begin to speak the truth you've always avoided. It's the resilience that says, this struggle might break who I was, but it won't destroy who I'm becoming. And that strength grows in the very heart of struggle, not outside of it. There's a reason many people describe their darkest moments as the times they found themselves. Not because pain is inherently redemptive, but because struggle forces a stripping away. It removes what's superficial and reveals what's essential. It burns through the noise and leaves only the core. You discover that you are not your status, your success, your image or your ego. You are the one who endured. You are the one who stayed. You are the one who rose when everything inside you said, stay down. What you must understand is that this dormant strength cannot be accessed through willpower alone. You can't force it. You have to go through the fire. You have to let the struggle shape you. You have to let go of who you think you're supposed to be, so you can become who you truly are. And the becoming is never neat. It's raw. It's vulnerable. It demands everything. But what you gain on the other side is not just survival. It's clarity, depth and power that can't be faked. Somewhere inside you is a version of yourself that only crisis can reveal. You may have glimpsed it during moments of heartbreak, illness, betrayal or failure, times when your surface self couldn't hold the weight anymore, and something deeper took over. That deeper self is what the struggle awakens, and once it's awake, you'll never be the same again. You'll walk differently, you'll speak with more truth, you'll love with more intensity, because you'll know your strength isn't hypothetical, it's embodied, it's earned. Don't run from struggle, don't numb it, deny it, or wish it away. If it's here for a reason. It's trying to crack open something within you that comfort never could. It's trying to introduce you to a version of yourself who is braver, wiser, and more real than the one who came before. And yes, it will test you. It will break the parts of you that were never meant to last, but it will also forge a kind of strength that no one can take away from you, because you didn't borrow it. You built it, in the fire, one breath at a time. True transformation does not begin with motivation, inspiration, or even understanding. It begins with death. Not a physical death, but a deep psychological one. the death of who you thought you were, the death of your old identity, your illusions, your coping mechanisms, and the false narratives you've clung to for safety. Everyone wants rebirth, but no one wants the death that makes it possible. Yet there is no evolution without letting go of what can no longer survive where you're going. Your past self, the one built around avoidance, fear, pride, or control, cannot walk with you into the next version of your life. That version must die, and that death is often painful, confusing, and terrifying. We spend so much of our lives avoiding this inner death. We stay in roles that are killing us inside, relationships that shrink us, beliefs that were never ours to begin with, just to avoid the unknown that comes when the old finally falls away. But the truth is, what feels like falling apart is often the beginning of falling into alignment. The pieces breaking are not you, they are just the shells you outgrew. Rebirth isn't about improving what was, it's about becoming something entirely new, that can only happen when the old story ends. This death shows up in many forms, sometimes through crisis, loss, heartbreak, or collapse. Other times it arrives quietly, as a sense that everything familiar suddenly feels lifeless. Either way, it marks a turning point. You're no longer able to sustain the mask, the persona, the patterns, and though you may want to fix or return to what was, some part of you knows you've outlived it. That's when the death begins, not as destruction but as release, a sacred letting go of the identity that once protected you but now confines you. Rebirth demands surrender. It asks you to stop gripping so tightly to your former self, even if that self brought you success or comfort. It asks you to descend into the unknown, to lose your orientation, and to trust that something deeper is emerging, something more authentic, more whole and more aligned with your true nature. But it doesn't happen instantly. The space between death and rebirth is liminal. It's the void. It's the cocoon phase, where the caterpillar dissolves before becoming a butterfly. And it's in this space where nothing is certain and everything feels raw, that your soul begins to reorganize. This is where many people turn back. They mistake the discomfort of this in-between for failure. But this discomfort is the birth canal of your transformation. You are shedding a skin. The illusions are being burned away. It's supposed to feel disorienting because you are no longer who you were, but not yet who you're becoming. If you can stay here, if you can resist the urge to run back to what's familiar, you'll emerge with a clarity and strength that wasn't accessible to your old self, because this new self wasn't created by ambition, it was forged in surrender. The rebirth that follows is not a return to normal, it's a revolution of identity. You begin to see through old stories. You stop identifying with your wounds. You begin to live from a place of alignment, not performance. You speak differently. You move differently. You feel different, because you are different. This version of you doesn't need to pretend, please, or prove. It lives from depth, not ego. From wholeness, not fragmentation. And that's the paradox. The death felt like an ending, but it was the beginning of everything real. If you feel like parts of you are dying right now, if the life you built no longer fits, if the masks are slipping, if the pain is rising, it means your rebirth is near. Don't resist it. Honor the death. Grieve what must go, and trust that what rises from the ashes will be truer than anything you've known before. Because this is not the end of you, it's the beginning of the real you. And that version of you was never born in comfort, it was born in the fire, after everything false had burned away.